initial group I was talking about yesterday that was created by Cofer Black. Cofer Black then goes on to create Blackwater. And it's almost like we're all going to the base of a tree, the trunk of the tree. We're following all these different branches now down, and we're getting to the tree, which is this place called Alex Station. And I'll get to what Alex Station is, the Osama bin Laden issue station. But as I mentioned, it was a virtual station in Tyson's Corner, a couple of miles away from Langley headquarters. It was in a nondescript office park and so forth. And as I said, this trunk of the tree, if you will, this foreign rogue CIA, which used Osama bin Laden as sort of a boogeyman, was able to then grow using drugs for weapons as its main way of making money. And it became DynCorp. It basically flowered into what's known as DynCorp. Now, DynCorp already existed, but what I'm saying is the drugs for weapons piece of DynCorp was what allowed this rogue CIA to grow, this what I'm going to call the Blackwater CIA, the private CIA. So if you don't remember, here's George Tenet. He's suspending the secret CIA hit squad. This started, you can go through here, it was suspended in 2004. You can go through the article and see that it goes all the way back to the initial days, again, of going after Al-Qaeda and going after the different folks in Al-Qaeda. This CIA drew up plans for an assassination squad. It goes all the way back to 1996 when this original group was set up. So here's Enrique Prado now. He's just a gardener, it looks like. Well, let's look a little bit deeper. Here, if you haven't ever seen Enrique dance, here's Enrique dancing, I think. On his profile here, and Rostova, the lawyers, and I had said I thought that the lawyers were bringing in these people that were like Enrique Prado, who's Spanish speaking. I don't know where he's from exactly, but then also would bring in Cesar Sayox from the Philippines, etc. And again, there are these people that have been trained in special forces, hand-to-hand combat, etc., that are then brought into the country, and they need to get visas, and then they need to get passports eventually if they're going to ship diplomatic passports. So I'll zoom in here a little bit more, and we can see kind of all of our different addresses. So there's 801 South Ocean Drive, and as you can see, it's a little bit off of where 1801 is. So but Trump Hollywood is where Bernie Wisnant's body was found. So it's probably not all that important, other than to say that he was threatening people by taking them for a ride in the Everglades. As you remember, I went to the Diplomat Hotel. This is where I met the priests. This is where I met the rabbis, all the Lebanese priests, all talking about placing kids. Right around the corner, if we want to zoom out a little bit, is over by Miami Mamas, the other place that he lives. Again, it just seems very close to Gulfstream Racing Park. Remember that he is also working for 3 different casinos, the Hard Rock Cafe in Orlando, the one here in Miami Beach, and then also the one, or maybe Fort Lauderdale, and then also the one in Tampa. So again, this whole group, I guess I would call them SEIU Tonys, since we've already kind of developed out that character. These SEIU Tonys are kind of doing special forces gigs for 6-month missionary missions, probably before they got in their 50s, but then also doing the security, and then they're also doing powerlifting and clubbing and all that sort of thing, and also, going out on the boats and so forth. Now, I'm not saying they're involved specifically in the drug business, but this is drug ground zero. This is where Wackenhut, for instance, brought in all of his drugs through this exact beach. This Diplomat Hotel was built on this, and it's almost like a rat line hotel, if you will. You bring in all the diplomats and then you compromise them there. And again, he talks about having these little silent trips out into the Everglades where you'll never talk anymore if you want to make threats. Okay, so we got that piece. So here's Bin Laden issue station, and this is where, if you remember now, Ricky said he was one of the original guys of this issue station right here. And now I don't know if Cesar Sayoc was or not, But you can see here, Chief of Special Operations. He was also the Chief of Station in a Muslim country. I'm going to guess that's either Afghanistan or Pakistan. It'd be interesting to know which one. And again, he worked under Ambassador Cofer Black. Again, Cofer Black is the one who first establishes, he moves basically in lockstep with Osama bin Laden. Cofer Black is in Khartoum with Osama bin Laden, then Cofer Black goes to Afghanistan with Osama bin Laden. He's the one who sets up this Osama bin Laden issue station. And if you really want to follow Cofer Black into black water, then the rest of the story carries up to this day in terms of Blackwater. Okay, through here, just talk about now how I may have inadvertently stumbled on the communications back channel between Osama bin Laden and this Tyson's Corner station. Again, if you're going to have a boogeyman out there creating all this havoc in Pakistan, you need communications. You need secure communications. Now, we know that there are Blackberries that are coming into being right around 99, but you would probably want to have some type of land-based communications as well. You always want to be one step ahead of the CIA. That way, the rest of the CIA, almost all of the CIA, thinks that they're on the trail of Osama bin Laden. There's only 10 or 12 people over at this other location in Tyson's Corner, a couple of miles away, that are basically moving the shell, moving the pea in the shell game to constantly frustrate the CIA so they get what they want in terms of more money for anti-terrorism, to create their little enclave within the CIA, and then that same enclave then goes on to permeate the FBI with this same group that then turns into Blackwater. So was that LCC building that I was at, was that actually this enclave? Was that Station Alex? I went to 2 or 3 different places the Awans had, and it would make sense that you would have cell towers that would be encrypted. You would have your own cell towers, which is this had, and it was owned by a drug lord called Ibrahim. And then it later was purchased by Tech Mahindra, again, an organization controlled by Ibrahim. Wouldn't that naturally be the organization that you would communicate with in order to manage your downline opium production? Of course it would. You'd have to have some way, you'd have to have some back channel of communicating with these folks, especially before iridium phones come into being. So